My name is Sherri McCleary, and I'm the Executive Director at the Digital Foundry in New Kensington, which is an initiative of Penn State New Kensington in collaboration with the R.K. Mellon Foundation and the Westmoreland County Economic Growth Connection. We are all about bringing the latest in smart and digital manufacturing technologies to the region for both education and for businesses to have access to how these things might be applied to solve their specific issues and problems.
How did that all come about, though? When was the first idea or the origination of this?
So the origination of the idea happened several years ago when I was still working in industry, and I was working for Alcoa, whose roots are in New Kensington. This was the birthplace of Alcoa and the global aluminum industry. And we had a long-standing relationship with Penn State New Kensington, and we were talking about how to bring some things to the community and to the students of New Kensington that would differentiate this area and this campus. So I was talking with the Chancellor, Dr. Kevin Snyder, about the potential of bringing in something that would be new and different. He was talking about some sort of a maker space. And at the time, I was leading a team of people who were doing a digital transformation for our global operations at Alcoa. And I told him, you don't want to do a traditional makerspace. You need to move towards what I'd call more of a digital makerspace, introducing students and local businesses to these technologies that are really transforming the way we do business, the way we make products, the way we go to market. And those are things that are going to radically change how we do things now and in the future. And a lot of companies were just getting started, and he started digging into that a little bit more and realized that, yes, this is something we're not fully preparing our students for right now, and it's coming fast. We were already seeing a lot of digital technologies in our personal lives, and industry was actually a little bit behind that in implementing some of the newest digitization of products and processes. So he agreed that there was a need to prepare the current and future workforce, and so we started kind of formulating what would that look like, what would it require, and we got the support of R.K. Mellon to make this a reality. And at the time I was still working in industry, and he approached me, would you know anybody who might be interested in leading this effort to help us get this idea off the ground? And I said, yeah, me. It was a great opportunity for me to kind of take my decades of experience, my network of connections in this area, and use it in a way where hopefully I'd be giving back to the region that I call home as kind of the final step in my career. So.
Well, there are two things that come in my mind, but the first thing is you mentioned, like, it took the support of R.K. Mellon.
Yes.
And how did that go about?
They have been a tremendous partner. They invest almost entirely in Allegheny and Westmoreland counties, where their family and their businesses had their roots. And so I think they are always looking for things that will contribute to the continued growth and future economic health of the region, and saw this as something that was a good fit, and also saw it as something that when you got outside of the more urban area of Pittsburgh, you weren't finding as much of this taking place. So how do you start to push the tech explosion that was starting to happen in Pittsburgh? How do you start to push that out to the surrounding communities in a way where it becomes that there's a little bit more inclusion for individuals who were not being reached, but also inclusion for a lot of small businesses who were sitting outside of where a lot of those things were taking place in Pittsburgh.
While you were at Alcoa, you actually created a patent. So talk more about that and some of your background in industry, especially in Alcoa.
Yeah, Alcoa is an iconic Pittsburgh company, birthed here in this region. In fact, here in New Kensington was their first larger manufacturing operation. It was the first aluminum manufacturing facility in the world, the first metals development lab was here in New Kensington. And a lot of the products that they developed and produced literally changed the course of history coming right out of here in New Kensington. So the roots in this town where we sit are go deep in industry. I was a career Alcoan, we called ourselves Alcoans, from the time I was an intern in college until I took an early retirement from there for over 30 years. So I was very proud to be a part of that company that had changed history in many ways. Their products were on every car, from the Ford Model T to almost every vehicle that's on the road today. They were on every aircraft, from the Wright brothers to fighter jets and commercial jets that are flying today. They were a major impact in the space programs from their start. So all of that came out of New Kensington town. So it was great that we brought those, kind of built on those roots that were already here. And the interesting connection when you ask about the R.K. Mellon Foundation is when Charles Martin Hall, a young man who got the first patent for making aluminum affordably, when he got that patent when he was only in college, he asked his professors, like, where do I go with this? And started asking people, what do I do with this? And they said, if you're going to expand on that patent that you just got, there's one place to go in the world right now, and that's Pittsburgh, because you need two things. You need metallurgists and metal technology, and you need investors. So he came to Pittsburgh, found that in some of the people that were here with the metals background, but also his initial investors were the Mellon family. So it kind of came full circle back to they provided him with the startup funding and property here in New Kensington to start what was then called the Pittsburgh Reduction Company. So it kind of came full circle that now the R.K. Mellon Foundation and some of us who were career Alcoans have come back to New Kensington to build on the next generation.
So they funded the initial Alcoa?
Yes.
Wow.
The Mellon family, they were one of the first big financial institutes in the country, very, very influential in the industrialization of Pittsburgh. So the whole story here kind of comes full circle, because this was the birthplace of what was considered for decades to be a highly technical and engineering company, that now we're looking at how do we invest in the next generation of workforce and industry here in this same town. So coming back to your question about me, I built my career at Alcoa, and I started when I was an undergraduate studying chemistry and material science. So I started at Alcoa as an intern between my junior and senior year in undergrad. I was working here just outside of New Kensington at their corporate research center.
Wow.
And was working on applications of, and this is going to lead to my patent that came years later. I was working as an intern on research on adhesive bonding and surface treatments for automotive applications. In particular, we were working on some applications for the Audi A8, which was the first all-aluminum space frame vehicle.
So you worked on the Audi A8. You were working on things for the A8.
When I was an undergrad in college, yes.
That's
and
one of my favorite vehicles, too.
To publish a paper on my summer work as an intern. And then I ended up coming back to Alcoa when I graduated and working as a co-op while I got my master's here at Carnegie Mellon in chemical engineering with a focus on materials. So I was with Alcoa for over 30 years, and about halfway through that career, I was back to working on applications for adhesive bonding and surface treatments for aluminum. And we had developed a product that really was a unique kind of game changer for being able to use structural adhesives in bonding and joining of automotive body and frame components. That technology was something that myself and some others at Alcoa got a patent on, both domestic and foreign patents. And we spent many years testing that product with all the major automotive manufacturers, including Ford, GM, Chrysler. We did a lot of work with Ferrari. We were building their space frames at the time. Yeah, I spent a good bit of time there. We worked on, Alcoa had a plant inside the Ferrari plant where we produced all of their space frames inside their own operations. We designed them and produced them inside the Ferrari operations. So I worked with the Japanese OEMs, with Nissan, Honda, Toyota. We worked
Yokohama. Wow.
The major German OEMs. We tested our products with Daimler, Mercedes.
So Stuttgart in Ingolstadt
Stuttgart and BMW
in Munich.
in the Munich area, and then Audi obviously was a big.
I didn't know you had such a deep automotive. Like, I've been in automotive mechanical engineering background in automotive for over 20 years.
Yes. Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Sometimes I think I spent more time in Detroit than I did in Pittsburgh. I was back and forth a lot. But I during that time, as I said, we developed and got a patent on this product that created a surface on aluminum that allowed you to use structural adhesives, very strong adhesives, to bond the aluminum together and guarantee that it would survive with exposure to weather and salt and fuels and all the things that you would see in an automotive application. And the reason that was important is when you join parts together, adhesives give you the benefit of providing better crash performance, better stiffness, better mechanical properties where you're bringing those parts together. So we tested that product for many years. We heard over and over from every automotive company that we tested it with, this product is way above and beyond the performance of anything else we've tested. We used it on some low volume applications for Ferrari and some others, but when Ford made the decision that they were going to go all aluminum on their F-150, they reached out to us and said, we need this product. And all of a sudden it became, this isn't something where we're just trying to show that it works on some lower volume vehicles. You're about to look at how do we put this onto the highest volume vehicle produced in the world.
Yes.
Was then, still is today. So they went straight to.
What year was this?
It would have been about 2000. I don't know. I'll have to go back and look. I don't remember. It's been a while.
I'm thinking it was like, was it
Early.
2015, it was.
So it went to market in like 2014, but it was a few years before that.
When you guys were working on it, but it was like the 20. I knew it was.
There had to be, a few years of final testing of the product, crash testing, exposure testing on vehicles, test track runs. So, the decision to go all aluminum and the decision to use this product when they did happened a few years before the vehicle going to production. But so when they came to us and said, we want to use this product on our F-150, what it required that we do, which is where there was a lot of creativity, obviously, in coming up with a technical solution, but there was just as much or more creativity and effort required to come up with a commercial solution. So now we had a product that they wanted to put on the highest volume vehicle production in the world. We didn't have the capacity to supply it entirely on our own because of the volume of that vehicle. So we had to start the process of negotiating that we would license that technology to some of our competitors. So you had to be very involved in that process of how do we not only technically get this product to work, but commercially come up with a solution that allows Ford to meet their goals. Because this was not just a game changer for Ford, it was not just a game changer for Alcoa, it was a game changer for the automotive industry because you had for the first time an automotive OEM going big time to high volume production of aluminum vehicles. And it was going to demand that the aluminum industry in general really step up to being able to produce what they needed when they needed it. So it was ended up being one of the largest contracts in the history of Alcoa. I got the privilege of being able to sit in the room for the signing of that deal with our CEO from Alcoa and the CEO from Ford Motor Companies at their headquarters in Dearborn.
So that was Alan at that time, right?
Alan
Mullally. Yeah. He's been in our publication too. So
Alan is awesome.
Awesome guy. I love him.
You know, he had been a executive
Boeing.
at Boeing, which
aeronautics.
Yes, so Boeing was our biggest customer at Alcoa for decades, so worked on projects with them as well. So he came out of, an industry where aluminum had been used since its birth. And he was like, I don't understand why we can't use this for cars. You have to be able to figure out a way to overcome any of the challenges to make this doable on a vehicle. And so he took a big leap to not only go after aluminum and the new technologies that went along with it in a big way, but to do it on their flagship vehicle, the F-150. So anyway, like I said,
how big was that contract that they signed?
I don't know the exact value, but I mean it's something that was in the hundreds of millions.
Yes. But so
in addition to this technology that I worked on was that a key enabler to them making the decision to go all aluminum is that they needed this surface treatment. They needed to know that they were using the best product that was available out there because they were making the decision to make this radical change on their flagship vehicle. They wanted to make sure that everything that they put in place on that was well tested, well proven, and the best products that they could get and still be affordable for a high volume vehicle. So they took a big risk, and we had to be there to back it up, and that required not only working closely with Ford, but working with our competitors and scaling up our operations to be able to produce this in very high volumes. So,
millions of cars using this overnight.
The F-150 is about 1 million vehicles per year.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a big deal.
From the 2014, and I think it's like the 2015 model year in 2014.
Right.
So that's about a decade.
So in 2014, when that technology went to market, we won the R&D Magazine's Top 100 award for the top 100 technologies in the world that were introduced that year. So I got to go to the big awards ceremony in Las Vegas to get recognized for being in the top 100 technologies. It was a game changer for Ford, for Alcoa, and for the aluminum industry, and it also led to a lot of other automotive companies kind of following their lead.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the A8 and a lot of what Audi does is using that technology, I assume.
Yes, Audi's space frame went aluminum in the 80s, and it was the aluminum design that was done here at Alcoa that made it the safest, most crash-worthy vehicle in the world for many years because of the aluminum space frame that was designed here in Kensington.
Yeah.
For that car.
So being an engineer and a woman, and you've been able to now get a patent, and you talked about being at all the awards ceremonies and actually being at the signing. So you weren't in the back room,
No.
right? You actually were there. Talk about that.
Yeah, it was awesome because the room was full of people. It was on the top floor of the Ford headquarters in Dearborn.
In Dearborn,
and,
yeah.
When
nice building.
Yeah, before we got started, Alan asked, because there were several people in the room from Ford and Alcoa, he asked us, everybody in the room, to introduce themselves. And when I introduced myself and said, I was one of the inventors of it was called the Alcoa 951, he actually started applauding, and everybody applauded in the room. He said, so you're the one who had a lot to do with why we're doing this. So it was definitely a career highlight to be able to be a part of that and to be recognized for that, and to actually be able to be in the room. It was really a history-making moment for the aluminum industry and the automotive industry.
So to me, I view you as a superhero. And I think like you're talking about this superpower that you've created, that you had, right? And you know, you work with materials, you're a chemist, material science, so meteorology, like, so talk about that and the work you do here, inspiring the next generation to walk in your footsteps.
Yes. So when I left Alcoa, I went to work for Kennametal for a couple of years as well. I started up a new business for them based on 3D printing of heavy metals for hard wear-resistant metals for some of their applications. And as I said, I got the opportunity then to come back and lead the startup of the Digital Foundry here in New Kensington. And we really had the vision of being here to do two things. One was to educate on these new technologies, and that included reaching from the K through 12 students all the way up to engineers who are already out there in the field working in these spaces who need to up their skills, as well as hand in hand with that, working with industry in the region to help them understand how they can use these technologies, because we saw it that if you just educate the workforce and they don't have companies in the area who need those skill sets who are using these technologies, then that talent will leave our region, and we don't want to see that happen. If you just help the businesses to understand how to use this technology and they don't have the workforce and the skills they need to keep it going and sustain it and use those technologies well, then they're either going to go elsewhere to try to find people, or they're not going to be successful. So we saw that you have to go hand in hand with helping to educate the current and future workforce, as well as help companies to figure out how to use these technologies. So for me, even though my expertise was on the materials and the product side, I also got to work with some of the people who were deep into the process side inside of our operations, who were figuring out how to use these smart technologies to better manufacture our products, how to have better visibility into how we were making things and how to be more efficient and how to monitor the quality, how to automate things. And what you said about superpower, when I think about what are my strengths, I'm a very strategic thinker, so I love to connect the dots of people, technology, and final solutions, or kind of things that will really move the needle or change things for the world. So while I'm not the deep expert on the digital technologies, I'm a materials engineer, I'm a product engineer, I could see the need in this space to connect the talent, the technology, and solve real problems in our region in manufacturing. For me, this was a great opportunity to use my kind of strategic road mapping to give back to the community and hopefully help young people to find their entry point to getting into some of these STEM careers and opportunities to, I don't know where else I could have gone and had the career that I did, to where I traveled the world. I worked on products that changed the world. I worked with some of the most talented people in the world who were truly world-class experts in what they did. I got to work in industries that spanned from automotive to aerospace to defense products to oil and gas and solar energy applications to consumer electronic products. I want other people to see the exciting opportunities that exist in some of these STEM fields and manufacturing fields and go after those opportunities. So if I can help even a few people to find their way to something that really could be an incredible lifelong experience, I want to be part of that. So.
And I guess I was going to say, like, what advice would you give to people that want to get started? But you have a lot of programs that you sponsor and do here at the Digital Foundry. So don't you talk about that, because you have your belongings. We have you actually.
Yeah, so we have, over the summers, the last couple of years since we got started, and we've only been here not even 2 years yet, we have had summer camps for high school students, it's middle school students. We have what's called our Belong in STEM camps. where we bring kids in and give them a little bit of exposure to a lot of this stuff. So they get some robotics, they get some AR, VR exposure, they get 3D printing exposure, they get to learn about digital design and 3D simulations, to kind of give them a little bit of a taste of all these different technologies that are really changing the way things are made. We bring in people to speak to them about applications. We take them on tours of some local manufacturing operations so that they know what's right here in their own backyard as far as opportunities. We have done throughout the school year programs with some of the local school districts where the kids get to come here and do some hands-on learning. We have partnered with an organization called 100 Black Men to help host some of their summer STEM camps. We have had after-school programs with an organization called R&D Impact for elementary kids to come in after school and get to do some of these similar kinds of activities that are age appropriate for them. And then we have where you can go all the way to full certification training on things like some of the robots you see behind me, where you can get an industry recognized certification that you could go out and get a job as a robotics programmer and operator with just that certification. So we have training that's appropriate for people who already have a degree that are working in the field, who want to come in and maybe they've already been working as an engineer for many years, but they're just starting to get exposed to some of these technologies in their business. Or maybe they are in high school trying to figure out where they want to go. Getting exposure to some of these things could allow them as a stepping stone to go on to a degree program here at Penn State, New Ken, or somewhere else. Or maybe they aren't college bound and they want to get a skill set that's going to allow them to go out and get a good paying job with certification training and specialized skills. So there's a lot of stepping off points for people to start to get familiar with these things and understand how it might fit for them. You know, is it something they're interested in? Is it something they feel like they have an interest and a desire to keep on going? If they do, we have things here where they can continue to take the next step, or we can get them connected with others in, like I said, Penn State or community college or other education options in the area.
And of course, you work with Toyz Electronics too.
Toyz Electronics, you guys have provided some really cool content for some of our summer camps that I think is a great way to make it fun and interesting, but still give the students the exposure to these technologies. Because I think that the learning experience needs to be something that captures their attention, captures their imagination, makes them want to learn more. So some of the types of activities that we have partnered with you on to bring some of this technology to life in a way that is fun, and while it is gamified, it's still very relevant to things that they would use if they go on to build an education and a career in some of these technologies.
It would be great now to democratize some of what you've been able to do in the process of being a student, to publish some of your insights on aluminum, and then actually being at the table to sign an agreement where this is now brought to millions, and then having your work impact billions of dollars in bottom line, because you're talking, it's kept the lights on. It's kept the lights on at companies, at Ford, and the whole industry has changed to that process, right? And I think that there is so much, so as a designer, as an engineer, I'm like, oh wow, there's some cool stuff we could even bring in now from that perspective of you're a superhero that they get to see and not really realize that they're probably sitting in your work, right?
Yes.
And not thinking of it that way.
Yes, that's true.
But they're sitting in your work. Their parents or their family has your work.
Absolutely. And like I said, even though the F-150 was a big story, there were so many other products that I got the opportunity to be involved in. I mean, the Apple phones and iPads and devices all have an aluminum surface that was developed here by Alcoa.
And you worked
right
on
here
some of
in
that
Penn.
too.
Yes, so like I said, aerospace applications, defense applications. We got to develop some life-saving aluminum armor systems for people who are out risking their lives serving our country, some systems that protect vehicles from landmine blasts. I was leading our defense group, and we actually got a picture sent to us by one of the vehicle manufacturers for armored vehicles, where a soldier in the field, sent a picture of the protective blast system that we designed at Alcoa that was on the vehicle he was driving when he hit a landmine. And he sent us a picture of this structure we had designed and built out of aluminum to put on the underbelly of their trucks, and it was all mangled and messed up. But he took a picture of it, and he had spray painted on it, "Thank you for saving my life." So, like I said, where would I have been able to go to get the opportunity to work on so many amazing things that ranged from, creating a product on one of the largest selling vehicles in the world to creating systems that were saving people's lives. And that is the awesome beauty of like materials engineering that I loved, is everything's made out of something.
Exactly.
Whether it's your iPhone that needs to be aesthetically pleasing to the eye, functional, durable, to a vehicle that has to withstand crashes and also be durable for many years, to a product that had to withstand a catastrophic event that could save somebody's life in a military application. So there's so many possibilities when you go into engineering. It's unbelievable, because every product that you touch, every product that you see, every product that you use has tons of engineering that went into it. What materials do you use? How do you join it together? How do you send it down an assembly line? How do you do it in a way that it's cost effective? How do you protect that technology through things like intellectual property and patents? How do you go to market and promote what that product is going to bring to your customers?
Yes.
So all of those things are built on an engineering foundation that I just think is one of the most versatile career choices that you can make.
That's like so perfectly encapsulated to evangelize engineering, and it just shows the potential of what the field could do. I think as engineers, that was really my thing, was how do you sell it? And that's why we make it fun, because I'm like, engineers are like superheroes. We build things, we solve problems, and our mindsets just builds things that really changes how humanity functions and interacts.
Absolutely.
And we need a whole new generation to be inspired by that same spirit.
Yeah, and I mean, people think of creativity as being in the arts only, but holy cow, the creativity that an engineer has to put into making a new product, or designing a manufacturing process, or figuring out even things that, while it might sound simple, takes incredible creativity to figure out how you fixture and hold apart while you machine it, or while you weld it, or while you apply a surface to it. And then now you start to overlay on that all the digital technologies that allow you to automatically record and capture what's happening in your processes, and how do you use that data creatively to design new products or new processes, or to redesign your manufacturing flow to be safer or more efficient, or provide higher quality products. So there's so much creativity, and I think we wrongly sometimes assume, when people will say, well, I'm not a creative person because they're not an artist, but creativity comes in so many different places and so many different forms, and it's really about, like you said, solving a problem and having to think your way through that, and sometimes it requires an incredible amount of creativity.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. Obviously, we work together doing this, but this has been fascinating, and it's been enlightening. I think you are a true superhero that's had an exceptional career, and I think that for people like us at Toyz, this is a way to allow your story, your work, and what's done here to be accessible to millions. So it's like, I think about this, and I'm like, she was thinking they had to upskill this to be able to reach millions of vehicles And it's like I had to take what we do in our workshops that we do in individual places and think, well, how can you reach millions? And that took me to Brazil, took me to different things, just even recently. And when I think about that, I'm like, wow, this story now could be shared and interacted with anybody with a connected device. Yeah. And it was so much about you that I did not know, right? That now I know, and now it just opens up, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that these students who would get a chance to walk in here, hopefully they'll take the opportunity to be mentored by you. Because we would love to have your LinkedIn profile and people be able to reach you through LinkedIn and be able to see more of your background, but be able to learn because you're here, you see them, you provide these educational opportunities for them, and you have to get it funded and talk to people, and it's free to them.
Yes. Yes.
But they don't realize who's in their presence and how much wisdom could be shared. So our goal is to be able to get as many of your students as possible to be able to have that and have other aspects that they could interact with and share with their parents and their families. That, hey, here's why I have this center, and here's why I have this opportunity, and here's the wisdom I have, and here's what I could be able to share with you while you in my building, and, right?
Yeah.
So thanks.
So you asked me, what's some advice that you would give to somebody looking to move into these fields? Well, I've had the incredible opportunity to mentor and kind of pour into the lives of a lot of people over my career, and I love doing that. And I think one of the things that I've probably told people more than anything is, first of all, lead from who you are. Don't try to be somebody you're not. The world needs who you are. The world needs you to be who you are. And if you feel like you have to conform to being like everybody else in the room, then you're not doing yourself or anyone else a favor. If you have a seat at the table to bring a different perspective, and you don't take advantage of that, then you might as well not have a seat at the table. And so I've had the opportunity to be, in executive leadership roles where I was the only woman in the room. And I felt there were times when I had to bring a different perspective, or I didn't need to be in the room. And I also tell people, don't be afraid to step out and do something that is uncomfortable and that's going to stretch you. Because when I have grown the most is when I have had to take on something I didn't know much about, and I stepped into that willingly. And there were times where it was hard and it was frustrating, but a year or two down the road, I could always look back and say, man, I'm glad I did that. I learned so much. And I believe, don't be afraid to do something different because you don't have the skills and the confidence. Because you do something different, you will get the skills and the confidence. So step out, take some chances, and be who you are. And I think that's the easiest way to find your way and to find success.
Thank you so much.